AI is already showing up in your projects and you can't answer a simple question, who actually owns this once it goes live? That's the real problem. Not the model, not the tool, the ownership gap. This video exists because of a comment. Someone asked, what does the human agent model actually look like in practice? Where is the real ROI? And what do organizations need to change about themselves and not their tools to make it work? That question stuck because it names the tension that you've probably felt. AI isn't failing in front of everybody. It's succeeding and then drifting. Value erodes, trust weakens, and no one can point to the exact moment that it went wrong. So let's talk about what actually happened from the delivery side. Here's the assumption that most delivery models make. That work is finite, that ownership transfers at go live, and that risk declines over time. You've probably built projects around those assumptions for years. Agents break all three. An agent doesn't stop when the project ends. It keeps acting. It keeps influencing decisions. And risk doesn't decline. It accumulates through use. So if you manage this like a traditional system rollout, you can look successful on launch day and still watch value erode afterward. That's the shift. Delivery stops being about completion and starts being about stewardship. Now let's talk about ROI, because this is where expectations usually drift. You might be thinking the return is faster execution, lower cost, headcount reduction. Those returns exist, but they're fragile. The durable ROI shows up somewhere else. It shows up when decisions happen faster, when judgment is consistent under pressure, when risks surface earlier than you could catch them yourself, when bad decisions are prevented and not just the good ones being sped up. That kind of ROI compounds, but only if someone owns it over time. No ownership means no sustained return. And this is where most organizations miss it. I'm sure what you've seen is agents dropped into structures built for tools. No clear owners for outcomes, no way to monitor drift or misuse, no feedback loop between behavior and governance. So leadership sees early promise, then degradation, then loss of trust. Not because the agent failed, but because the organization never changed. This is the uncomfortable part, because fixing this isn't about tuning the model. It's about changing how responsibility works. First, ownership has to shift. You stop assigning owners to platforms, and you start assigning owners to decisions made with agents. If no one owns the consequence when it's wrong, the model breaks. Second, delivery has to extend beyond projects. AI work doesn't end at go live. Project close becomes a transition and not an exit. That means standing ownership for behavior change, for ongoing risk, for value realization. This is where change management stops being episodic and starts being permanent. Third, governance has to move earlier and stay active. It can't just be a gate at the end. It has to exist from day one and continue in operations. When governance is embedded early, teams move faster later. Trust increases. Risk stays visible instead of hidden. Governance stops being a brake and starts enabling speed. And finally, human roles have to be redefined and not reduced. In this model, agents act. Humans decide boundaries, intent, and escalation. You don't disappear, you become accountable. For judgment, for trust, for intervention. That doesn't require deeper technical skill, that requires role clarity. And this is why the shift lands on you first. You already manage uncertainty. You've already watched value erode after launch. You already think in systems instead of features. You don't become obsolete in an agent world. You become a steward of living systems. That's why project close changes. That's why operating models matter more than plans. If these questions are on your mind, you're not behind. You're seeing the shift early. The organizations that succeed with agents won't be the most technically advanced. They'll be the ones willing to change how they think about ownership, delivery, and trust.